Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. We're here for round 2 of our second Rivals of Ixalan draft. Got some sleep between the last round and this one, so hopefully we'll have a little bit more energy for your commentary. I know I was just about to fall asleep during that last commentary, and can't have been as exciting as it possibly could have been, so hopefully this will go a little bit better. Also got myself a coffee for a little bit of extra energy for you guys. This opening hand looks great. We do need to find another land, but we should be able to do that by turn 4, hopefully. If not, we've got bigger issues. So, Evolving Wilds indicates that our opponent could be splashing for a third or possibly even a fourth color. We're going to continue to draw mono removal spells, which is fine by me. Our opponent's going to struggle to stick anything on this board. The ramp spell as well suggests our opponent's in at least 3 colors, and then the swamp following it. So black-white against Abzan at this point. Abzan itself doesn't have a real defined characteristic that I know of in Rivals of Ixalan. I'm guessing it's just large green-white creatures splashing black for a bit of removal. We're going to go ahead and take out his Mandork so that we can hopefully keep him off a 4th color if he's in a 4th color, and also take away that bit of acceleration. Ixalan's Diviner finds our opponent their next land drop. We don't really have any great attacks here at this point unless we put Mark of the Vampire on our Chupacabra, which does appear to be what we're doing. And we'll go ahead and try to get in past this Diviner. It's quite possible we're about to get 2 for 1 here, and we are indeed. One of the obvious risks of playing auras, but whenever you're trying to just force through damage with smaller creatures, they can be a necessity. The Dusk Charger can also attack past the Diviner, especially if we get Ascend online. But we're pretty far from doing that at this point. We're going to have to find another land or 2 if we want a chance at ascending. I think we're just going to impale his Pterodon Knight so that we can start attacking with the Dusk Charger. Might be a not a full waste of an impale, but a aggressive impale. However, we still have another removal spell in hand, so we're not too afraid of something like a Colossal Dreadmaw or some big dumb dino coming down. We're definitely not afraid of the 2/2 flyer. Play the other Dusk Charger out. Gets us up to 4, 5, 6, 7 permanents. If we find a land this turn, we get Ascend online and can attack with 2 5/5s. No land, however, we still could ascend if we really want to. I believe we're probably just going to use a Skullduggery instead to get rid of the Overgrown Armasaur. Not getting ourselves a 2 for 1 here, but ensuring that our creature lives and theirs does not is fine. So if mana efficiency is our main goal, the Voracious Vampire is the best play there. However, we're going to go with the Oathsworn one so that we can get the trigger off the Voracious Vampire when it enters. We really need to find another land so that we can get rid of that Colossal Dreadmaw and trigger Ascend in the same turn. And the land comes right on time for us. We're going to take out that Colossal Dreadmaw and attack back with 2 5/5s and a 3/3. So our opponent's really not in good shape here. I'm guessing I forgot that the Snubhorn Sentry became a 3/3. There's no real reason for me to leave it back in that situation. Our opponent would be at 2 if I hadn't done it that way, which would be considerably better for us, but we're still very favored to win this game. Possible we shouldn't have committed the pirate in case our opponent had a board wipe that they were trying to get us to play into. However, because of the fact that they played out their Dreadmaw, I think it's highly unlikely that they have a board wipe. Our opponent was still dead on board and concedes. So moving on to game 2, we saw 2 Dreadmaws, so it's worth it probably to bring in the Looming Armasaur, or whatever the name of that card is. It's also possible that the discard spell's a reasonable choice. Looks like we're just boarding into more reach once again. The Thematic Compass is better against the Dreadmaws than it is against most other decks. Really want to be hitting one massive creature with that rather than just untapping some small blocker for them, just allowing them to have their free attack. I think it's probably correct for us to bring in the Looming over the each opponent loses 1 life for each creature you control, just because the Looming's such a straight up answer to Dreadmaw. I guess there's some consideration to the fact that we actually want Dreadmaw to be attacking us rather than sitting back on defense. Because we're such an aggressive deck, we want to have them low by the time they play their Dreadmaw. Dreadmaw attacks us once and we swing back for lethal, hopefully. I guess that's one reason not to bring the Looming Armasaur in over the additional reach, but I do definitely like the discard in this scenario, especially because the discard acts as a burn spell as well. This hand's a little sketchy. We need to find a white source. I guess we're going to go ahead and send it back. This one's a keep. We have a Snubhorn Sentry. We need to find a land so we can play the Squire's Devotion. Ideally, that would have been a swamp. We're just happy to find a third land. Hitting on the Explorer makes the Squire's Devotion a little bit less impressive because that means the 1/1 can't even get through for damage. I'm guessing we're just going to play the Voracious Vampire instead on turn 3. Although, a better line may be to play the Squire's Devotion, play the Voracious Vampire the following turn, and give the token Menace and +1/+1. But we just decide to play our 2/2 instead. We can follow up with the Mark of the Vampire next turn, getting us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 permanents. Send is definitely a key feature of this deck, so it's always good to have that in mind. Yet another good vampire entering our hand here. Because our the Voracious Vampire has Menace, possibly we could have attacked there. What is that, a 4/2 and a 1/4? So it's not actually worth the attack. We'd get to trade 1-for-1 with the 4/2 Dino, but I don't think that's quite where we want to be at the moment. Especially not considering our spells are going to be getting better once we get up to 10 permanents, and we have a removal spell and a 2 pump spells in hand. Pump is in auras, not instant speed, but still effective whenever both players are continuing to tap out on each of their turns. So an 8. So the Squire's Devotion triggers Ascend for us. So does the Contract Killing. Unsure of which we'd prefer to do at the moment. Squire's Devotion. Oh, we're not going to do either of them. It's going to turn our vampire into a 5/5. Maybe just be going all in on this Voracious Vampire this game, which leaves us very vulnerable to a removal spell, as you see. And losing 2 permanents there really hurts us in terms of Ascend. It's going to be quite tough to come back from that, in all honesty. They've got really good blockers up at the moment. We're just going to hope to snag a Dreadmaw or some good spell from our opponent's remaining 3 cards. Things are definitely not going great for us this game. 2 removal spells from the looks of it, so that's great. Definitely okay with taking removal spells away from our opponent and ensuring that our creatures stay safe. The Pterodon Knight is quite the issue at the moment. It might be worth firing off the Contract Killing at it, but we really do want to save that for our their Colossal Dreadmaws and extremely large sets that we don't have an answer to. So it's possible we're just going to play the Squire's Devotion likely on our 3/3. They both are 3/3s as soon as we play Squire's Devotion, so maybe it's correct to play it on the Snubhorn. The only benefit there being that we would get to keep a vampire by incentivizing them to kill the Snubhorn over the other vampire. Pterodon Knight's continuing to chip away in the air. There's the Colossal Dreadmaw we've been waiting on. And a Skullduggery is the perfect draw for that as well, because we can use the Contract Killing to kill the Colossal Dreadmaw and then use the Skullduggery to ensure combat goes in our favor. So that was the perfect draw for us, and first point in which we really turned the corner of this game. Our opponent sees around our Skullduggery and doesn't double block as anticipated, but there was, I guess, no real incentive for them to double block. Really just a matter of time before we draw another one of our removal spells to take care of that Pterodon Knight, and then we'll be at very close to parity. Our opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4 mana up, so I'm not sure exactly what dinosaur they could play at instant speed if they block with the hatchling. We are currently winning this race, but our opponent has a number of chump blockers. If the race continues from there, we probably will lose if they have any meaningful creatures off the top of their deck. I'm guessing they have a Colossal Dreadmaw in hand now, or at least some large dino that they wanted to play at instant speed, and that's why they decided to chump that particular turn. We finally found a flyer of our own. It unfortunately doesn't match up well against the Pterodon Knight, but it may keep the Pterodon Knight back. The Armasaur isn't the worst card we could have seen them play. Definitely, it gets to fight something. That's really good, actually. It's definitely going to be a difficult game for us to come back and win. We need to find another removal spell or two and continue just chipping away at our opponent's life total and continuing to gain life. If they want to trade the Overgrown Armasaur for this, I'm more than happy to. Triple block is interesting. Definitely going to order the blockers like that and see if our opponent has a trick. If our opponent has a trick, we have no way of coming back. Now our 3/3 can begin attacking. Still doesn't have the greatest attacks because of the 1/4, but we might be able to force through some extra damage. I think this game's just about out of reach. We'd really have to draw hot off the top of our deck. Might as well see what's on top again. That should go to the graveyard. We've got plenty of time, so there's no real need for us to concede. But this game's really getting out of reach with our opponent having a 3/3 and a 5/5 in play and still having great blocks after attacking with both of those. They're going to be conservative and leave the 5/5 back on blocks, which is a pretty smart idea when they have the only flyer. At least now we have a 5/5 of our own. And if our opponent continues to draw lands, we may be able to just pull out of this game. We're going to offer the trade with our 5/5s. And pass it on back. Now if our opponent wants to continue attacking us with their 3/3, we can start attacking, and they do not. Although I'm curious as to why not, if they knew they were playing the 2/4, why they wouldn't just attack with the Pterodon Knight again. It may have been a misclick on their part. We really need to find another Dusk Charger, or a Ravenous Chupacabra would be great as well. It would make the game continue to grind on out, but 2-for-1 would be very good. So here we can give the Flyer +1/+1 and Menace. Menace really isn't relevant just because of the way the boards stack up at the moment. The only way it could possibly be relevant would be if we use the ability on the Snowborn Sentry, but that's not an option. So I think it's just going to go, we could put it on the 2/1 because even if he double blocks, he can block with both the 4 toughness creatures and then we don't get anything out of it. So there's no point in doing that. So hopefully we're smart enough to just put it on our flyer and get him for 3 while the option's there. And then we're likely going to have to start chumping this Pterodon Knight or hopefully find an answer to it. What are we doing? Deciding to attack. I guess we could have just been waiting for... I don't know exactly what we'd be waiting for in that scenario. Why we wouldn't play the Voracious Vampire out. The only argument I can see is waiting so that we put it on one of the life-linking tokens and gain a little bit of life, possibly swing the race back in our favor. But even that seems incredibly sketchy. Just chump attacking here, I guess, to gain life. No other real reason for it. And very sketchy reasoning at that. We really need to find an answer to this Pterodon Knight. If we do that, the board's really turn into a grind fest. Another flyer, at least this one trades with our flyer. Another Dusk Charger is great. However, it may be too little too late. I think we probably should have played the Voracious Vampire and attacked with the life-linking token, just to play around some pump spell on the Pterodon Knight. We have to chump block the Pterodon Knight here. And that's the end of the game. We're going to go ahead and attack out, see if our opponent just misclicks or makes some kind of mistake. They do not, so we are dead. Not sure why we're going through all these extra steps here at the end of the game. Going into game 3, we'll be on the play again, which is very beneficial for us because we're definitely the aggressive deck of the two. I don't see too many changes we can make. Perhaps Moment of Triumph isn't awful in this matchup. It appears we're just bringing in some additional reach with that Gruesome Fate. Once again, we could bring in the Looming Armasaur, but I think we've identified that we don't want the game to go long. There's probably a card we could cut for it. Not sure exactly what it is, but there's probably some card that it is better than. It's still in our deck if we would have taken the extra time to look for it and get that small edge. Have a decent looking curve here, having a turn 2 Vampire and 2 Voracious Vampires still in hand. We're going to be able to punch in for some damage at least. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have a turn 3 play, and we'll be able to, or at least a turn 3 creature, we'll be able to punch in for 4 damage next turn, 5 damage next turn. Nope, they do indeed have the creature. Now all of our creatures have menace. If we play the swamp before combat, we can keep up Skullduggery as well, which seems pretty good. And it looks like we did identify that. So it's possible that we're going to get in. We're going to be able to eliminate some of their blockers. Nope, they don't even take the bait, which is really fine by me. We want to punch through as much damage as possible, so if they're willing to let that happen, then I'm happy enough to have it happen, especially when we have our 5th land and a contract killing in hand. If they don't play a creature this turn, that gets us in for 6 damage next turn, 7 damage if we use the Skullduggery. Our attacks still aren't awful, especially with this Skullduggery, but we want to play the Squire's Devotion first. Does it make sense to put it on something that isn't the Martyr of Dusk? And then we're probably going to use the Skullduggery on the same creature just to make sure that it survives, unless he triple blocks, but he's just going to take it again. Alright, our opponent's probably dead next turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lands, 6 mana for our opponent this turn. They could play a Colossal Dreadmaw. Definitely on the attack, our opponent's dead. unless they have some great follow-up. So they could have a Settle the Wreckage. I don't think I'm playing around it, though. Maybe I am supposed to play around it. Maybe I just attack with 2 Voracious Vampires and not all of my creatures. But then at that point, Martyr of Dusk represents lethal. So by taking that out before combat, it takes Settle the Wreckage away as an option. I do think I actually went through that line whenever I was playing a game, but it just now occurred to me because he was dependent on that mana for Settle the Wreckage if he had it. That is game right there. Give that +1/+1, and that's 7 damage. Oh no, the Divine Verdict comes through and saves them. But our opponent's still at 3. We have a menace creature and 2 additional creatures. Things are still looking heavily in our favor. If our opponent misses a land drop, it's just as good, if not better, than them missing a land drop. Although they were able to play 2 spells this turn, so that's not great for us. We just kind of have to be conservative and make sure we are able to get these last 3 points of damage through. We've got the Gruesome Fate ends the game. The discard spell comes close to ending the game. In fact, it would end the game if we attacked here first. So now we're really just trying to find one of our flyers or a Gruesome Fate to finish this game off before our opponent can mount a clock up on us. There's a flyer, and conveniently the Skymarch Bloodletter actually makes it so the discard spell, what is that, Arterial Flow or something like that, is lethal. So, and the Skymarch Bloodletter is also lethal next turn. That's probably more relevant, but they do have to attack with their flyer in order for that to be lethal. If we find a Voracious Vampire, the Gruesome Fate, the Arterial Flow, we have quite a number of outs, I guess, is the point I'm making. Colossal Dreadmaw is great for our opponent. Mark of the Vampire. So if we throw Mark of the Vampire on the Bloodletter, we force the chump from the flyer. And our opponent only has 1 card in hand. So hopefully that card isn't a removal spell for next turn. Our opponent has to chump here. We gain some life so that we're not dying on the crackback, which we were pretty far off of anyway. And our opponent doesn't find a flyer or removal spell, so we'll take that round down. That puts us at 2-0 for this league. And we'll be back with round 3 here shortly. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching.